Hello, everybody, and welcome to our interview with Ruben Bolling, one of the or the creator of Tom the Dancing Bug. Ruben, thanks for being here and being a part of this interview.
Great to be here. Thanks, Curtis.
Now, you have published a few books with Clover Press now, and I just wanted to kind of talk about the origin of Tom the Dancing Bug and how we got to the point where you're doing these books with Clover Press. What are the origins of Tom the Dancing Bug?
Well, the comic strip started way back. 1990 was it the first professional Tom the Dancing Bug. It was in a small alternative weekly in New York. And then I've just been doing a comic once a week ever since then.
Yeah,
That little newspaper has gone into business, but the comic strip itself it went up, the alternative route, and was in the Village Voice and a lot of
yeah.
alternative newspapers. It was in a lot of daily newspapers. It was in the Washington Post for many years. But with cutbacks in newspapers, a lot of my alternative clients went out of business, still distributed to newspapers, but the web is a lot more important to it now.
Mhm.
It's really incredibly doing better than ever, even from when it was used to be in all those newspapers and magazines and print. Sort of found a way to make it work. And so, yeah, I've just been doing the comic strip, and how it's evolved over the 30 this month. Actually, June is the 32nd anniversary
Wow.
of the comic strip.
Nice.
So yeah, it's just whatever I want to do every week. So the comic strip has evolved, pretty radically from when it started in 1990 to now.
Can you tell me about those changes? What was the concept of the strip when it started in 1990, and what is it now?
I think if I had been asked to describe what it was, I don't know if I could have articulated this, but I think what I now know what I was trying to do was to create a Mad magazine,
Okay.
like a feature every week where I was all the different artists. So I wanted to change the styles every week, do something different, where I was the entire gang of idiots. So every week it was like a little feature, like a Mad magazine page. Um, and so that's what it started at. And when it started, it was it was not political. It was very silly, absurdist humor, Mad magazine style humor, but really everything. I wanted to experiment. I wanted to have no limitations on what would be in any given Tom the Dancing Bug.
Right.
So, the formats, the art styles, the humor styles changed every single week. Um, Over time, I guess the main thing is it's gotten more political. It took a turn in 9/11. It went from, maybe 10% political to maybe 40%. Now it's up to like 80 something percent of each comic will be political. I really think that the comic strip is bifurcated in before Trump and after Trump, because after Trump, I just went all in on this phenomenon of what's going on in American political and cultural life. It's just it's too important. It's too fascinating. It's what I think about, and that's really what the comic strip is always supposed to be about anyway.
Yeah.
So it's really become more political. But we're doing this complete Tom the Dancing Bug multi-volume set with Clover, and you'll really see how the comic strip changed so much over time.
Now, one of the interesting things is that we're releasing these volumes in kind of reverse chronological order, right? The one I wanted to talk to you about this time is the book that's coming on pretty soon. It's called Eat the Poor, and
Right.
it collects 2007 to 2011. This is right
It's
before the
after
turning
9
point.
11, but yeah, I'm starting to get, and there's the fun. This really is about, if you look at the themes of these books, this one is real. The first one, which was the last one chronologically, was Into the Trump-verse, and it was about the Trump phenomenon.
Yeah.
This one is about, really, if there's a theme, and it covers lots of stuff, crazy amounts of stuff, but really the running theme is the financial crisis and the Great Recession.
Right.
So when it gets political, it's often about that. That would be the theme of it. Yeah.
Okay. And is this still in the era where you'd say it's maybe about 80% political?
No, it's much less.
Much less. Okay.
There's a lot of characters. I would say it's in less than half are political.
Yeah.
I was still doing a lot of general humor stuff, different recurring characters, super fun pack comics.
Hmm. Right.
But as you read it, you see that every now and then I keep coming back to this big thing that was going on at the time,
Yeah.
the financial crisis.
Would you say that you said that there was a kind of a rise in popularity once you hit the web, and would you say that that is in part because you started talking about more of those hot button topics that are current at the time?
I wonder. I don't know. I feel as though the wave in popularity happened as I began to know. I feel as though I began to know more about how to use the web,
Okay.
because at this time, 2007, 2011, I still thought I was a print cartoonist.
Hmm.
And so this may have been, I had one web client, salon.com, when the comics in this book started. Um, and all my clients, everything else, was working for my print clients.
Okay.
And this was sort of the process when, I was doing the same work, but my print business was starting to unravel because of the financial crisis and the Great
Right.
Recession.
Yeah.
In addition to, it was exacerbated, of course, in the print industry.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was definitely. I was in the wilderness when the comics in this book were made.
Hmm.
I think at one point Salon canceled all their comics. That was my one web client, and I was getting all these newspaper cancellations that were canceling all their comics. So I was really wondering, can I still be a cartoonist?
Hmm. Right.
I figured it out sort of during the volume six's comics during that time, when I realized I got a subscription basis. I got more web clients. I did more social media. I just became much more savvy about using the web, as opposed to just sending it out to newspapers and sitting back.
Right. So how can people, if they want to join your newsletter and such, and how can they do that?
Thanks for asking. That's at tomthedancingbug.com.
Mhm.
We'll have a link to join the Inner Hive. And really, the Inner Hive is what saved the comic strip. That's the subscription group. I was in all these newspapers. I was in the New York Times, all these papers. The day that I launched the Inner Hive, that day it became my biggest single source of revenue that I'd ever had.
Wow.
And then and that was nothing compared to where, of course, I never had one single source of income. It always was a lot of different newspapers.
Right. Yeah.
But still, it was just like, I was worried how many people would sign up, maybe 3, maybe 5. And it just was like incredible. That was one of the best days of my
I bet.
career or life, was to find out that people would be willing to support the comic strip.
That's amazing.
Fantastic.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about the process of coming up with your gags and how you realize that on the page.
Yeah, well, I do one a week. Coming up with it is a mysterious process
Yes,
that
I'm
I
sure.
have no handle on. I wish I could control it better, so that I could have more control over my life.
Yeah.
But it usually is born of deadline pressure. I've learned to lead into that,
Yeah.
because if I have 3 days to think of a comic strip, I'll spend 2 days thinking of nothing, and then a day thinking of it.
Yeah.
So now I just take that day, and at the very end, when it has to get done, and I'll just do other stuff in those other 2 days, and use that time more efficiently. So yeah, it just I stare at the blank page in panic long enough, and something will come to me. Especially it's a little more ordered when it's a political thing. Like I'll think of a topic that I really want to say something about.
Mhm.
I just did one this week about gun control and about school shootings.
The Richard
Uh,
Scarry parody, right?
the Richard Scarry one,
Yeah,
yeah. And
wonderful.
so I
Yeah.
can see my notes how I thought of it. I wrote down school shootings, and then thought of different ways that I could express that.
Yeah.
And then when I just wrote down the words Richard Scarry, because that came. Sometimes I've done 3 Richard Scarry parodies over the last, I don't know, 15 years. So I thought maybe this is the way to do it. And then instantly you can
It's
see in
right
my
there.
notes, suddenly I'm just drawing it. Suddenly
Yeah.
it's there. And that's usually the way it works. There's like nothing happens for hours, and then suddenly the comic just comes right out.
Yeah.
Once I get that foothold. Yeah, so that one it came to me suddenly once I thought of the way in.
So I imagine that because you're online now, you can work closer. Like the strips that you produce are way closer to the actual current events than when you were doing it for newspapers, because there's always lead time with the newspapers,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, my comic strip was, even though when I started in newspapers, it was not political. It was always, I would always sort of make the deadline only a few days before, because
Yeah.
sometimes it would be political. Um, and so, yeah, I guess, it was probably, yeah, just a few days. I know that some cartoons, not for their Sundays, but even daily newspapers, I think that Doonesbury, for example, is a daily comic strip
Yeah.
that gets that week's comics in like the end of that week,
Right.
the
Yeah.
end of the
They
week
stay pretty current.
before it's gonna run, and
Hmm.
that's really the schedule that I'm on. So
Okay.
I draw the comic on Monday, and then it instantly becomes available to print clients. Tuesday it becomes available to my subscription service. They get it a day early, and then Wednesday it premieres on the web on one of my clients, boingboing.net. And then
Hmm.
Thursday and Friday, other clients, and I sort of stagger its release. But yeah,
Okay.
Monday is my day for drawing, and Monday afternoon it starts being available to any print client can take it and plug it in and run it Tuesday. But on the web, it's Wednesday.
Wow. Okay. So when you're putting these book collections together, what are some of the things you have to think about? Are you just saying I'm putting everything in there in order, or like are you rearranging anything?
I look at these as like this is the comic strip everything,
Yeah.
even comic strips that I like cringe looking at, like, oh man,
Yeah.
that was a bad week. I just feel like this is you know I love these comics, like you're talking about working on the For Better or For Worse
Yeah.
books. And what I want when I collect these books is I want everything. I want to feel as though I have 4 years worth of these comics,
Hmm.
everything that was there. So I look at it that way. I put everything in, and I also add things that I did for freelance clients, that aren't part of the comic strip.
Okay.
So I worked for the New Yorker, and those comics go in those years that they appeared. In
Great.
this next one coming out, Eat the Poor, there's a comic about the recession that I did for Harper's Magazine, and there's a crazy, huge 2-page comic, a mashup of Toy Story and Cormac McCarthy, the author, the very violent Western and other and literary author, and that I did for the Village Voice. And so those two are extra comics that are in there. So
Okay.
yeah, I feel as though I put everything in. I put the dates under each comic so that it just becomes like a document. Like when you buy these books, you're getting absolutely everything about the comic strip for
Yeah.
those years.
That's fantastic. And the dates are really important, especially once you lean into more of the political stuff, so people understand the era and the context. Like
Right.
these are not to be ones that are published 10 years ago are not to be seen in today's light. You got to think about what it was like 10 years ago.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yep. So you have also, I can see all of your books in the background there, the ones that Clover has published. There's
I put
the
them up for this.
Yeah, perfect. There's also the Tom the Dancing Bug, like the greatest hits kind of a compilation you have there as well.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes. Tom the Dancing Bug without the bad
without
ones.
the bad ones, all those ones that you cringed at, you said.
No, I don't cringe at all the ones that didn't make into that, but
Okay. What was the selection process trying to come up with those strips for that book there?
yeah, it was really idiosyncratic. I just went through and I tried to remember like which ones were popular at the time, which ones I'm particularly proud of, which ones I think were important, like at the first appearance of a character that became popular.
Right.
I also, where there were some questions like, I want to get a Billy Dare comic in here, which one? Here's two. Then from the same era, which one should go? I actually put it up to a vote in my subscription service.
Oh, nice.
So in those weeks, I would have like a few votes. So that was sort of fun to see. because everyone would write in and say why they liked one or the other, and it was just fun to get all those emails and then let that determine which one was in there. But
Right.
yeah, it's basically the ones that got the biggest reaction over the years. So, and it became a lot easier to know, once during the era of the web, because I know now instantly.
Yeah, which one
This,
has the most likes and stuff? Yeah.
yeah, I mean, this Richard Scarry one, it's gone so crazy that it makes me actually hurts my feelings for the other comics that obviously are not as good or popular, because this one is just exceptional. It's every time someone sees it, it gets liked. So it's
Yeah.
going crazy on the web this week and sort of taking my focus.
Yeah. Now, you've mentioned Mad Magazine, and I see in your bookshelves behind you like Marvel Masterworks and the Peanuts books. What's your love of comics like? What do you like reading? What is your influence?
Oh, I loved when I was a kid. Ever since I was a kid, I've just loved every kind of comic, everything. And so, it really informs. So yeah, I collect these Marvel Masterwork, Marvel old Marvel issues and Peanuts, and these, I can see Dennis the Menace there, and whatever. I've always loved these. I love these things, and Mad Magazine. And so it's really informed in the comics. A lot of, especially recently, I've done a lot of. I kind of take the current events and then put them into the context of these old comics that I like. And I think for me, it's sort of a juxtaposition of the innocence of those. This Richard Scarry is a great example.
Hmm.
I'm juxtaposing the innocence of the comics from my childhood and other people's, the childhood,
Yeah.
and then putting, our current dark age, juxtaposing that. And so,
Yeah.
in the Richard Scarry one, I took that beautiful, cute, quaint Richard Scarry type of classroom, and it's in the scene of an active shooter, which was, just horrifying for me to draw, and one of the hardest things I've ever done professionally. I
Yeah.
can't even stand to imagine what those classrooms are like, and suddenly now I'm drawing it. So I've done it for Peanuts. I have a whole series of called Q Nuts, where the Peanuts are, some of them are QAnon. It varies based on what I want to do, but
Right.
and others are victims of. And so I just take old style comics, older comics from the 60s, Tintin, anything, and then update it originally for silly purposes or for satire, and now I'm doing it a lot of political satire using them.
Right. Wow, that's fantastic. Okay, so for those of you who are listening, Tom the Dancing Bug has a section on cloverpress.us where you can see his name at the top there, and click on there and see all of the books that are available. So you have 4 books. So let's see if we can go through them here. Tom the Dancing Bug without the bad ones, which we said is a compilation,
Yeah,
and then Into the Trumpverse, which collects 2016 to 2019.
that's right.
And Tom the Dancing Bug Awakens, which is the book before that, 2012 to 2015. And then this one here, Eat the Poor, which is coming out soon, which is 2007 to 2011. And then I assume at some point you'll have enough material for something that comes out for 2020 to 22 or something like that, right?
Yes, yeah, we have it. Clover and I we sort of have we have it informally mapped out.
Yeah.
And I think that we've done volume 7, volume 6, volume 5. And I think the way we have it currently mapped out is before we do volume 2, going backwards, we're going to do volume 8, which will be 2020 to 2023.
Okay, there you go. Wow.
Yeah, so we'll be ready for that. Yeah.
So that means that's a pretty quick pace then. Your whole series will be collected within 2 years or something like that, right?
We'll see how it goes. I mean, as long as I'm so delighted, so happy that they're, doing this collection. As I said, as you can tell from my bookcase, I love these things. I love,
Hmm.
collecting this stuff and having it in a multi-volume set. So I'm a fan of it. And to have it done for my comics is just a dream come true. So
Yeah, absolutely.
their plan right now, and they seem enthusiastic as ever, maybe more enthusiastic than ever, is to start putting these out every 6 months. So that'll keep me busy designing the covers and the back covers, and and getting all the interiors all ready, and getting them set up. But as long as they're uh, enthusiastic and ready to go, so am I love it.
So people, like we said before, people can go over to tomthedancing.bug.com and sign up to be part of the Inner Hive, where you can get some
Yeah.
exclusive updates and all of that kind of stuff. Maybe we can try and do a promo for this new book through Inner Hive.
Oh, I do that. They're
Yeah,
I've already told them about this. I do something every week, so they're well aware of it, and yeah, lots of promos and announcements.
there you
Absolutely.
go. Well, thank you very much, Ruben, for being a part of this interview and telling us about your process and about the history of the strip. It was very fascinating, and I really enjoyed it.
Well, thank you very much. I really enjoyed it too. Yeah, good to meet you.
And thanks everybody for paying attention, and we will see you on our next video. Thank you very much.